our thoughts on the first round of the NBA playoffs, which pitcher rules the National League, and our thoughts on the NFL draft. Find out next. MCTV Sports 101 starts now.
Welcome to the MCTV Sports 101. I'm Becca Chance, joined as always by Cal Stafford and Billy Ingle.
Hey, Becca.
Hey, how's it going?
All right, let's get to it. With round one of the NBA playoffs now complete, what takeaways did you guys have from the first round?
Well, I think in the Western Conference, everything went about just as according to plan, except for the injuries that occurred. Yeah. But in the Eastern Conference, one of the most intriguing series, to me especially, was this Toronto Raptors and Indiana Pacers series.
That was a great series.
It was a great series to watch from Game 1 all the way to Game 7. It was competitive all the way through. And just one question I have for these Toronto Raptors is, Kyle Lowry, where are you at? Because right now, in these last 4 games, he's shooting 5 for 14, 11 points, 4 for 14, 10 points, 3 for 11, 14 points. 4 for 15, 12 points. Kyle Lowry, what are you doing? You were an all-star in this league, and you can't do this 3 years running in the playoffs. Yeah. So, Kyle, that's my question for you. Where's Kyle Lowry at?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer either. I'm watching these games, and I'm just like, it's just brick after brick after brick. I mean, at some point, I understand if you struggle, but this is 3 straight postseasons, like you said, that you're continuing to struggle. And even DeMar DeRozan, who has really struggled the last 3 years as well, he found a way.
Yeah, exactly.
He still found a way to get 30 points in Game 7 to lead them. And, I think if they're going to have any success against Miami Heat, Kyle Lowry's going to have to step up because Goran Dragic will take advantage of him every single game, the way he did Kemba Walker in Game 7.
Oh, no doubt.
But I want to give a lot of credit to Paul George. The way he carried that Pacers team into the postseason and then almost to a first-round upset. I mean, if he had maybe one other guy, they are legit probably Eastern Conference contenders. I'm not saying they could go and beat the Cavs or anything.
But they're one of the closest ones that could.
Yeah, because their defense that they play. There's not a team in the league that I think has played better defense than Indiana in the last few seasons, maybe besides maybe the Spurs and stuff like that. But, if he would have had the same team that he had a couple years ago before the injury, I think they'd had a good shot. But a lot of credit to Paul George. He's one of the best in the game.
I agree. So now what I want to do is I want to address this Western Conference, which is riddled with injuries right now. Yeah. You got Steph Curry, the MVP of the league, who's gone down for, right now, we don't know how long. He's hoping to play, hopefully, in this round 2. But, only we don't know. Yeah. No one knows when that's going to happen. And then the Clippers, it's just such a sad story. You see Chris Paul and Blake Griffin both go out for the rest of the playoffs is what it looks like.
Well, isn't that – I don't want to be rude, but isn't that the most Clipper thing you've ever seen? I don't want to see –
It's like it's a curse.
I don't want to see those injuries because those two – especially if they would have made it to play Golden State, that could have been a good series. I wish Curry would have been.
With Curry out, that leaves the door open for them to get in there.
And when Curry got injured and we knew he'd be out, people were all like, oh, well, Clippers, this is their window. This is their window. And the same night, Chris Paul breaks his hand and Blake Griffin goes down. It's devastating. We knew Griffin wasn't 100%, but it's really devastating to see a guy like Chris Paul because he works so hard
and been doing it for so many years.
Yeah. He's so talented. That's really tough.
It is. And I want to see
give a lot of credit to Portland.
Of course.
They won that. They still had to go win the series.
Lillard and C.J. McCollum went out there and they did their thing.
And Mason Plumlee too. I think he did a good job.
I think he's defending the point well.
13 rebounds a game, 5 assists per game, and 8 points per game. So I think that's impressive. I want to say one thing real quick about the Miami Heat. Dwayne Wade, he is still a star in this league. Despite all the injuries that he's had, he's playing well. I think he carries his team in the postseason. I think he did a good job. But give a lot of credit to Charlotte. They really fought hard in that series. I was impressed. I didn't expect them to be hanging around that long. So I was impressed with them.
Becca, which team were you most impressed with in the first round of the NBA playoffs?
I'm going to have to go with the Toronto Raptors. This is their first time to advance in the NBA playoffs since 2001. And you got guys like DeRozan averaging 30 points a game, which I think is going to be really key in keeping their momentum moving on to the semifinals versus the Miami Heat. Switching over to the MLB, Jake Arrieta continues to dominate as he is now 5-0 on the season with a ridiculous 1 ERA. Dating back to last season, Arrieta has won his last 16 decisions and is at the forefront of the Cubs' success. Guys, has he surpassed Clayton Kershaw as the best pitcher in the National League?
No, no, and no.
See, I know. All right, you go ahead, because I know we don't agree with this right now.
Look, with all due respect, I don't think I've seen a pitcher pitch like Arrieta in the last, I don't know how many games, 20, 25 regular season starts that he's had dating back to last season. Mm-hmm. But if we're talking about regular season, now I know Kershaw has had his struggles in the postseason. Don't get me wrong, he has had his struggles. But in the regular season, this guy is the most dominant pitcher I have ever seen in the last 7 years. Really, he's been in the league 8 years, but he wasn't as great as rookie year. But 7 seasons below a 3 ERA, not many pitchers can say they do it. He's got over 1,700 strikeouts on his career. He's led the league for I don't know how many years now in strikeouts. But I mean, I go back to his 2014 campaign, 21-3 with a 1.77 ERA. Very similar to ARRIETA's last year with a 22-6 record and 1.77 ERA. So I don't know. Maybe if he continues it and Kershaw drops off a little bit, maybe.
Well, what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the body of work right now, which obviously over the 8-year span that Kershaw's been in the league, he's been dominating the game, and you would say that he's the better pitcher overall. Yeah. But right now, the way ARRIETA's playing, I'm taking ARRIETA because the way he's commanding the ball and commanding the strike zone and getting people to whiff at pitches outside of the strike zone, it's great to watch. And just looking at it, he has he's got a 1 ERA, like we said before, just over 3 hits. I think it's about 5 hits after the weekend. And so runs. And so he's just playing great this year. I like to see him. I want to say he's better right now than Kershaw. Yeah. But like you said, over a whole body of work, I mean, I would have to say Kershaw.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, ARRIETA's still got some time. He's still young. He's got 6 years in the league, so we'll see.
Got a no-hitter this year already.
Did, yeah. And I'm still going to go with Kershaw, though. I mean, unless Kershaw drops off at some point, I'm going to stick with him. Becca, who do you have, Kershaw or ARRIETA?
I'm going to have to go with ARRIETA. Kershaw has been really dominant this past few years, but ARRIETA's really stepped up this season. Like y'all said, he threw a 1 ERA, which is ridiculous, and he just got his second career no-hitter 2 weeks ago. So I think he's really giving Kershaw a run for his money. With this year's NFL draft officially over, guys, which teams do you think had the best weekend?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. My Dallas Cowboys, we had ourselves
how'd I know you were going to say that?
One good weekend. Yeah. With the first round, we got Ezekiel Elliott, and the second round getting Jalen Smith. And see, a lot of people are weary about taking Jalen Smith with the injuries and all the risk that come with it. But, the upside is just – there's too much upside not to take the guy, especially if he falls down to the second round. But where the headlines were the Rams and Eagles going quarterbacks 1 and 2 with Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. Yeah. I mean, no doubt that they're the 2 best quarterbacks in the draft right now, that were in the draft. But are they really first and second overall pick talent?
Well, I guess we're going to find out pretty soon about Carson Wentz because Sam Bradford wants out. I mean, he wants out.
And he's been very adamant about how much he wants out.
No offense to Sam Bradford. You're not good enough to demand a trade yet. You haven't proven enough over the league. But, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how those picks. I think Jared Goff from California, going to the Rams. I think they did a good job building around him. They already had a good team. They just needed a good quarterback. So I think if he can come in, he's got a good running back behind him in Todd Gurley. I think that's interesting. But – I mean, we'll find out, but I kind of like what the Cleveland Browns did. Yeah. Picking up Corey Coleman against the speed for Robert Griffin. Ricardo Lewis from Auburn as well, another receiver, and then picking up Emmanuel Ogbah from defensive end from Oklahoma State. I think they did a good job in the draft. We'll find out if going to Cleveland ruins their careers like it does most other players.
Sadly. You know what? I think the Jaguars had a great pick with Jalen Ramsey. So, I think that
Miles Jack.
And Miles Jack.
If he's healthy.
If the way they're attacking defense, and obviously defense wins championships, I think that's a great way to go about it.
Yeah, and don't forget they have Dante Fowler coming back off of injury. He was their first-round pick a year ago, a defensive pass rusher. And, their offense was good last year. I mean, they were scoring like 50 points a game. Nobody besides the Patriots scored more than them. So, we'll see. I think if the draft picks stay healthy and work out, I think it was a good draft for most teams, though.
I think so. Becca, since you're a Houston fan, do you feel the Texans fared well in this weekend's draft?
Oh, absolutely. They got Fox Sports ranked top 22 players, G.J. Reader and Braxton Miller. Braxton Miller is going to be huge on the offense, especially after losing Arian Foster this past year. And I think he's going to be a great asset to the team. And DJ Reader, he's a huge guy, and he's really dominant on the defensive line. So I'm interested to see what he'll be like next to J.J. Watt. This past weekend, Texas Tech baseball took 2 out of 3 against TCU to remain in sole possession of first place in the Big 12. With only 6 conference games left and a 2-game lead over Oklahoma State, guys, do you like the Red Raiders' chances of winning the Big 12?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think they're really on a good pace right now. You got a 2-game lead, 6 games left. But it's against the bottom of the Big 12, so I really think that kind of benefits Tech. They've already faced the top.
And you have to be wary because some of those easier games, they're easy to look past.
Yeah, they could sneak up on you. But, you know, they already swept Oklahoma State, so that kind of helped them tiebreaker-wise if anything were to happen. I mean, I look at it, if you just take 2 out of 3 in both series, I think they clinch it. But I think it was big. There was their first road series win against a top 10 team since 2009, so that's good for the program right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it was the first time TCU lost on their home field in a Big 12 regular season game this season. So Tech really doing a good thing.
It just shows how the confidence and the swagger that Texas Tech baseball has right now to walk in to TCU Stadium and take down them on
there are a lot of veterans out there too. There are a lot of juniors on that team, but their pitching staff is very young. A lot of their starters are freshmen. He moved the seniors and juniors to the bullpen. So I like what Tim Tadlock's done this year with his team. I think Tech's got a good shot to make another run to the College World Series, and you know I hope they can win it all this year. I mean, it'd be really nice to see Tech go back on top like that.
Man, that's what we can all dream for, is it not?
Right.
Well, thanks for joining us again this week, Becca.
Of course. I'm looking forward to next week discussing the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, always glad to have you with us. Well, that's our show for this week's edition of MCTV Sports 101. Join us next week for the latest big-name stories in sports. For Becca Chance, I'm Kyle Stafford.
And I'm Billy Ingle. Till next time.